Good morning, everybody. It's about 8:58 a.m. Eastern Time, March 24th, 2023. And so everything I've typed on this Windows subsystem for Linux terminal here is true. It's actually accurate. I wish that it wasn't, that simple, but it is that simple. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that it's stressful, it's frustrating, but it is what it is. There's a couple things I want to explain from the beginning. So first of all, I really have dealt with a lot of illegal censorship from the DEA. Illegal censorship, objectively. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that I've had to make multiple cloud backups of everything that I do. I've had to make physical backups of everything that I do. Usually I'm recording with multiple devices at the same time. And that's really beyond stressful, to be really open and honest about that. It's not just stressful. What they've done to me is legally defined as psychological torture. And they don't have this is true, they don't have any legal option to censor me in explaining that. Now, they've censored me, that's for sure, but it's not legal, is what I'm emphasizing. None of what they've done, quite frankly, this entire time has been legal in any way, shape, or form, which is why they tried to murder me in cold blood outside the city of San Marcos, Texas. And thank God a federal agent saved my life and also witnessed. You understand? That's kind of what's so key, quite frankly, is that they witnessed that when the DEA has been, trying to perpetuate consciously fraudulent accusations about my mental health, which they've done repeatedly. That's a really big deal in this particular case, and it's going to remain being, a really, really big deal. So, I will, let everyone know it's not mental illness. DEA is in this machine that I'm using right now. They're in, my cell phone. And a lot of times that sounds like mental illness if somebody's like, oh, they're being watched I'm being watched on my computer or my phone, right? But no, it's not in my case. Like, it's not. That's the thing. I'm too educated about their own tools. Apparently, I'm more educated about, their own tools than they are, which is kind of weird to say, but it really is that plain. They've abused their keys and their tools with reckless abandon upon my life. I've captured them repeatedly. I've reverse engineered, not all of them, but many of them. And the other thing that's really relevant here is DEA are not the only criminal hackers I've had to put up with. I'm not kidding. That's what's so frustrating and difficult, right? Let's go over to this chart for a moment. So we've got a few things to talk about this morning. First of all, I'm going to bring up this page really quickly. All right, so this is kind of, a general in a screenshot summary of, who I am as, someone that's brand new to Twitch, right? And I am brand new to Twitch. I have that written on this, up on some of my other notes that I'm about to pull up here. But really, the Voyager was, representative. These two eyes in the middle, it's kind of weird, right? In the larger is a fictional universe, is not mental illness, right? It's kind of like I wrote, the world of, Lord of the Rings, or the world of, Silmarillion, or the world of, Star Wars, right? And then I was like, okay, now here's, plot lines that can be written within that. And that's the thing, is that's how it's kind of bizarre, because when I sit down in front of a camera, you need to understand there's been years and years and years of prep work, right? I'm doing acting, and I'm not somebody that's going to write down some perfect script or, make it like that, my process is my process. And to be honest with you, I usually would normally like to edit, content a lot more than I am right now. But that's part of what I've appreciated about streaming, because not everything needs to be, edited all perfectly, right? And there's a lot of information that can and should be conveyed just by sort of hitting go, really, and I mean that. So for me, it's kind of like there is, an easy way, and in some ways. So I'm gonna leave the red under the family there. There's an easy way in some ways to, in this day and age, like some of the folks involved in what they've done to me, they don't seem to live in the 21st century, and I'm not sure why they thought that any of this behavior would be okay. Frankly, there's been a lot of ageism. There's been a lot of Dunning-Kruger. And I've got some of these terms that, in different presentations I'll be, putting on the page. But this is kind of a general summary as a brand new streamer, what I'm, presenting. I say and more. Let's add on here something that's really been important in this. One sec. Okay, so people could get mad that I call them lectures, but they shouldn't, because I'll be honest, you're let me put it very plainly, you're a bigot if you think that I can't give a lecture. You're a bigot if you think I can't give a lecture that's actually of value, and I really mean that. That means that, likely you're eating up lies about me, who I am, and, I'm going to just say it that plainly because that's exactly how plainly you need to hear it. What's strange to me is that for you to even decide if anybody could or could not give a lecture, you're already fundamentally broken in your logic. I'll be the first to point that out, y'all, as a logician. As in some ways, it's like I'm trying to remind everybody, you got to go back to your root level logic, right? You're already broken in your logic when you're trying to decide, oh, can you give a lecture if you don't have a college degree, even though I've got about more than 3/4 of a college degree, and I've got more education than a lot of people that have, received a bachelor's degree in their lifetime, y'all. And I mean a lot more. Let me put it plainly. A lot more education than a lot of people who have a bachelor's degree, more education than plenty of people that have a master's degree, and more education than some people that have a PhD. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding at all, y'all. That's what's so complex for me, is that my education is self-education primarily, first and foremost. And so people can get offended if they want to, but they have no right to do so at all, in any way, shape, or form. I think what's strange about this whole set of situations that's occurred this last few years, which is part of what I sort of have to speak to, but really, I'm going to explain that this is the way that I like to work in the morning. My personal preference, speaking of these iterative loops, my personal preference for lectures, monologues, podcasts, I usually like to do those in the morning. Not necessarily every time, but most of the time I like to wake up, and it's kind of like writing, right? When I do writing, then, I could add writing on this list here, but I've got it down in here somewhere. Yeah, writing. I like to do writing in the morning as well. And the only reason I haven't been writing as much as I normally would be writing is because of this specific, relentless, illegal human rights violation that I've been putting up with for over 3 years now. And so to have every single word that you type into a computer stolen from you, and that's the thing, right? Now at this point, it's easy to say, actively trying to use it against you in a very deeply systemically corrupt federal law enforcement agency, that I'm not claiming that that's psychological torture, right? I'm letting everyone on the planet Earth know that that's exactly what DEA, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, has tried to do to me over and over and over again. They have been trying to literally, overtly, psychologically torture me. That's kind of an important clarification, right? And it's something I'll be covering more in other lectures and recordings. But that's also where, I emphasize, right? Look at how I have to work right now. It's basically, the most ridiculous thing in the world. It's not just kind of ridiculous, it's completely outrageous for me to have to make multiple physical backups, multiple recordings on multiple devices, even just to make sure that my words are heard. I have to watch. I'm not kidding, because these people are on my machine just like they were during this pandemic in Austin. They were muting my audio actively. They were messing with my audio settings on my operating system, right? I'm the kind of person that I'm not Superman, y'all, in any way, shape, or form, and I do not see myself as such, but I'm like the super technical, ridiculously sage level experience with technology type IT guy. And that's what's confusing for a lot of people, is that it's just been such a genuine passion. It's kind of passion that you can't fake, and you can't even inspire, quite frankly, in a lot of people. But that's what I've always wanted to help with, is inspiring that passion. right? And that's where all of my words on the screen here, I mean them, right? It's like, and some of them I'll provide more context as time goes on, but that's part of why they're all together, right? Is because you really can't ever get a holistic picture of a human being, especially when you're trying to stare at one dimension, right? And one dimension could be a camera in their home, one dimension could be streaming to a Discord server through their cell phone, one dimension could be any number of things, right? Listening equipment in their home, or staring at their dot on a map with GPS, right? And that's being broadcast. And I've got more to say about that, because that is such a genuine safety risk. It really is. And frankly, y'all, nobody should have to say this. Speaking of, some folks wanting to be, like, everyone's allowed to be mindful of their privacy. I've been treated like, simultaneously, that's the thing. It's like, how dare I ask for privacy when I'm a nobody, but then I've been treated like, oh, he's making music and podcasts because he's just trying to be somebody, he's trying to, but I have no money, and these people are sitting there trying to prevent me illegally. And to be clear, y'all, they're committing crimes trying to prevent me from even making money, which is exactly what the current context is right now. They're willing to go commit felony crimes over and over and over again, trying to prevent me from earning an income. Otherwise, I would be currently employed when I'm currently not, and it is the most painful thing in the world. It's like, wow, they've turned me into essentially a full-time on and off Twitch streamer, because not only are they trying to prevent me from making any money whatsoever, but they're also actively still committing crimes trying to frame me. And those crimes come in the form of, well, lying to the local authorities most of the time, right? And that's what's so complicated and frustrating to have to explain, is that these people, they actually do, they're that unethical. They do actually lack that much integrity. They really don't actually serve their purpose in this country in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I wish it was not this simple, but they actually serve Vladimir Putin. And this is not a claim in any way, shape, or form. It's part of what, I've had to prove in this. They're openly serving the FSB, Russian military, right? And I'm not saying FSB is the same, but they kind of are, y'all. That's what's complicated, right? It's like, you think about Russian military, like the army dudes, FSB, I don't know how many of you think about them in whatever way you do, but that's the problem. They are very sneaky, y'all. They actually are. And sometimes they're not as sneaky as they think, right? But they really, they'll lie straight to your face, of course, about who they are. You're not going to see a t-shirt that's like FSB, right? It's like, a lot of times, y'all, you have no idea. And yes, they have plenty of people in the United States of America. I'm not trying to make people fearful, but they will lie straight to your face. They really, the way that these people work is part of what I'm covering on my YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, you can go to Voyager, Voyiigur, just search for it, and you'll see it. I will, emphasize, I've got DEA, like honestly, you'll look at the feeding frenzy here. It's a bunch of sharks, right? It really is a bunch of sharks. Let me bring this back up, and now we're gonna change GIFs here. So in a way, I'm kind of the shark bait, and I keep saying that nobody wants to listen to me, but we got a bunch of sharks and we got to deal with them. So it's kind of like, it's whatever. Okay, I'll be the shark bait. It's really painful and torturous, and that's not a joke. But look how calmly I'm saying it. First thing in the morning, because this is, when we probably all kind of feel most calm most of the time, right? You just got some sleep, and, you wake up, and you're like, man, I really love, what I do, and I am really grateful for, not just the education that I've received in my primary education, right? My secondary education, and my post-secondary education, right? But also, really, I'm really grateful for the fact that I've been able to educate myself in my lifetime to some extent. There's been a lot of false projection of privilege upon me throughout this entire set of situations, and to be honest, that's one of the most hurtful things, because really the only, what's the best way to say it, that is the privilege, if anything, that I had in my lifetime, was that, like, I very consciously, that's the thing. See, I'm not trying to ever talk about my family. I don't really want to, but it's not that let me put it best, y'all. I have to talk about them some when they're sitting around talking about me, and in some cases they're breaking the law talking about me. So that's the point. They've forced that situation. They can't claim that they did not. But what my family's perception was with me and computers is they thought I just liked gadgets or fancy things, and that's a total opposite. I'll bring that up in other lectures that I'm going to give. It's actually the total opposite. You could not find on the planet Earth a more heartfelt, like, I love computers because of the utility, right? Speaking of Occam's razor, all right, I love computers because, well, there's something that opens up so many doors. I'm very anti-gatekeeping, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can use a computer. There's a lot of different ways that you can educate yourself with a computer or a computing device, right? And so some of my morning lectures, for example, it's like applying Occam's razor to the brain, right? This whole situation, in a way, y'all, has been so relentlessly abusive, and I'm not claiming that. That's the problem. We've got to separate those things, right? Objective fact versus subjective opinion. It's not my subjective opinion that this has been relentlessly illegal and abusive. It definitely, as a matter of objective fact, has been ridiculously, ridiculously abusive and illegal. And that's the point, right? When we've got a chart like this, what I'm explaining partially is, wow, look how complex that is. When we've got Air Force hackers, right? Somebody in Air Force intelligence is sitting around, lying about me like a psychopath in Texas, and he was pulling all the strings in the world, and he was listening to his nephew, who's a violent psychopathic criminal in real life. Again, his nephew, I'm not even going to say their names at the moment, y'all, but somebody needs to take away the gun from his nephew. He has a long documented history of severe mental health issues. He is a actual safety risk to himself and others. I'm not claiming that for a moment. That is actually true. So I need somebody out there that knows who I'm talking about. You need to, seriously, y'all, it's like, take away the gun, right? For anybody in, either case to kind of try to act like any of this behavior was okay. For example, DEA working with that man throughout this. That's the issue, y'all. You kind of jump, you're not just jumping the gun, like, really, if you're carrying a badge and really, you've taken an oath. That's what it comes down to, y'all. You've taken an oath, right? Because that oath is actually really important, y'all. Whether or not you actually want to think about it that way, why is that oath important? Because we can talk about how we, need to, and again, y'all, this applies to local law enforcement as well. It really does. I'm not trying to be condescending, but it applies to the fact that we can always make laws, y'all, and we will always legislate to, address new nuanced situations that occur, just like this one. We will always make more new legislation. But at the same time, y'all, the oath is kind of the catch-all for everything else, right? That's how we need to think about it. The oath actually is, it's like, okay, beyond and among and through all of the actual legal, accountability that you could face, right? You do not have, qualified immunity, quite frankly, right? In a case where you're relentlessly abusing, the law or perceptions or your freedom of speech or someone's human rights in a way that is, how do you put it, just so heinous, it's genuinely systematic, right? And that's kind of one of the main things for anybody else out there that I need to emphasize, right? I really just have to speak plainly about the topic at this point. These people do not have any legal option or right to censor me, and I'm serious because, well, that's the thing, y'all. You only, if anybody wanted to, in this group, they wanted to sue me for libel or defamation, well, I would have to be not telling the truth, and I am telling the truth. What they've done is objectively illegal. It's completely unconstitutional in every way, shape, or form. So it's a deep and insidious violation of constitutional law. But it also is, it's just one of those things. There's like common sense, which is part of, they've been trying to say that to me this whole time. But no, that's the issue. They've abused time this whole time, sitting around implementing torture techniques upon my life, right? I reference this movie because really it kind of is relevant, right? I was never, quote, poor. I was just someone that was, working and, doing my job, and they sat around trying to make up this narrative like I'm this like poor little, quote, I emphasize, quote, retard, quote, schizo, quote, liar, quote, a lot of false things. And, from the beginning, for people to kind of listen to DEA without any skepticism was always a little bit bizarre to me, because that just speaks to a lack of education about the agency. But, that being said, I think that's what's difficult about the state of our politics, right? A lot of people just don't know better. A lot of people just don't know better. They really don't. And so now it's partially my task to make sure that everyone does know better. But that's not even what this lecture is about. This lecture is about, well, remember, I'm applying Occam's razor to the brain in the morning usually, y'all, and I'm waking up, and I'm just, a lot of these are, there's always mental preparation beforehand. This lecture is about group psychology and collective consciousness. It's a quick lecture. And it is a quick lecture, y'all. I'm not kidding. The lectures that I can give, we're talking 2-3 hours at times, really. And that's where it's bizarre, right? I need just privacy, safety, security to give a lecture. That's it. And right now, I don't even really have, well, the privacy or in some ways the safety or even completely the security. I have like a little bit of that, y'all. But see, that's what's so, I have more of that than I ever had in Texas during this. That's one way to put it. And that's why for some people, it's going to be, complicated, if that makes sense. I think that, how do you put it? Like, when it comes down to it, there really is a lot involved in this in terms of, well, for example, not blaming Facebook, right? Facebook really can't do much about people abusing their freedom of speech about me on the internet, which has happened time and time and time again, right? And it really is, y'all. I mean, it's group harassment, it's group bullying, it's talk about internet bullying. I've never even, that's what's kind of so ridiculous about the situation. I've mentioned I'm very much oh yeah, that's one thing I think I need to add to the list, actually. Anti-bullying, y'all. Like, oh my Lord, I am anti-bullying. And I'm kind of like the anti-bully at this point in life, y'all. I really mean it. I'm kind of like straight up the anti-bully. I don't tolerate it, y'all. I really mean it. Like, in this situation, there has been so much bigotry, hate speech, literal slavery. It's called modern slavery, in case anyone is not familiar with the term. It's actually a very legal, real term. You can go to state.gov and pull this up. And it says state.gov, what-is-modern slavery. And then this is the specific form of modern slavery. It's bonded labor or debt bondage. And there is a corrupt district attorney in Austin, Texas that was involved in, basically going after a loan that was already in, that's again, let me emphasize, the loan was in good standing. It was in, really, I was doing my job. I was paying, even though I was being paid a very illegal wage for the work that I was factually producing, which I can prove. The loan was in good standing. So I want to emphasize on this page what's so horrible, y'all, is that there are other forms of modern slavery that, they sound worse. But what we need to remind ourselves of is that any form of slavery is slavery. In the eyes of the law, there is no difference. And frankly, when these people in the DEA, I mean, they put cameras in my bathroom, y'all, for years. They're filming me naked in the bathtub. They're filming me naked in the shower. They're filming me, going to the bathroom, taking a shit, and they thought that they were like, yeah, we did such a good job because we got him naked in the bathroom. Like, I don't, I'll be honest, y'all, I don't give a fuck. If I'm being, again, trigger warning, 18 plus only, I mean it, y'all. I put it in the title. But there you go. That's how easy it is now. I can be unfiltered, right? I really don't care, right? I don't care. And I'm not saying that I want to be filmed naked. But what I'm saying is it actually says, it says something so much worse about their mental health than mine than it could ever, like the fact that they even thought that was like success for them is quite despicably disgusting. If I'm being honest, y'all, they're like, yeah, we got him now because they're fucking filming me taking a shit. Like, good for you, I guess, y'all. I hope you enjoyed it. You can keep that in the memory bank while some of you sit in federal prison for the rest of your lives. But no, it is actually really important to remember, anybody that watches this later, there are, more obvious, that's the only way to say it, y'all. That's actually the worst part of the situation. There are more obvious forms of modern slavery, but this is modern slavery nonetheless, even right now at this very moment, just to let you know. I'm still being, subjected to modern slavery. That is the legal term for it. And, it's the kind of thing where it's just like, if you think about it, why would we be okay with that? I don't really know. Sorry, I didn't mean to have multiple JFKs down here. It's like JFK, too many. No. Could you ever have too much JFK, y'all? I don't know if you could. No, let's pull up that quote again. Because I don't think the DEA has ever asked themselves this question in this situation for a moment, really. All of this, false projection upon me, and I don't think a single one of them has ever actually asked themselves, what can you do for your country, right? Not what can your country do for you. And that's the thing. It's very indicative of their mindset. To me, I loved this quote because it's kind of like that root level logic, right? He's saying, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And in a way, y'all, it's like, wow, what a great reminder of that root level logic that you really need to think about things that way. If you want to call yourself a patriot, stop sitting around and, well, quite frankly, lying through your teeth and acting like, you're a capitalist if you're a communist, right? And that's one of the things, for example, y'all, like anybody in this organization, sorry, I'm not even trying to, I'll be honest, y'all, I appreciate anybody that hops in here. I'm not looking, I actually appreciate you because you're viewing this with legal consent. That's the best way for me to put it. I'll put it very simply. These people on this list, the blue, they're obeying the law. These people, they're not obeying the law. That's the thing. They're not obeying the law in any way, shape, or form. And they can't even argue that they are. And so that's part of what's difficult, right, is that I have to continue explaining this concept. Just to let you know, if you're joining this Twitch stream or watching it later, in my, Twitch is VODs, I believe, right? Brand new to Twitch, y'all. So even the terms, I'm serious. Like, please don't jump on me. It's going to take me some time to, really get up to date on all that kind of stuff. And speaking of Dunning-Kruger, y'all, that's one of the main first things that I'll point out. I don't like to use the word, sage with technology, if I'm being honest, because some people call me arrogant, but no, it's actually, it 100% will apply. I'll be able to convey so much information at times that, without pulling up a Google or anything, that some of you will be like, oh my God, who the hell is this guy? Like, who is this guy? Like, where did he come from? Did he literally, and that's why a song I have, which I'll sing just a brief clip from, is, this is actually what it's about. It's not, it's not a veiled threat or whatever they're trying to say. And this song is, the name might change, but it's called Now You're Born the Voyager. There you go, there you go, there you go, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. Don't you know, now you're born the Voyager, ripping through time and space to lyrically destroy you. Ain't got no time to waste, this shit goes supernova. Ain't got no time and space to, ain't got no time and space to, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. Don't you know, now you're born the Voyager, ripping through time and space to lyrically destroy you. Ain't got no time to waste, this shit goes supernova. Ain't got no time and space to, ain't got no time and space to, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. There you go, there you go. So part of what I mean, y'all, with, I'm saying it's gonna feel like I ripped through time and space, and you're like, where did this man come from? He doesn't even have experience on Twitch. He wasn't out there on YouTube. He wasn't making music, publicly, at least that he was publishing. That's kind of what a lot of these people in the DEA and some, really criminal, past coworkers who I didn't want to talk about, y'all, but I want to emphasize that's what's so complicated. I don't even like to say it that way because a lot of coworkers have been good people in the past, and that's not the family. To be honest, y'all, they're the ones that have been straight up evil, right? But there's been plenty of coworkers in this that have been good people in real life, and then there's plenty that have, well, not at all. And that's kind of what's really, complicated for me is that, I take the big picture perspective. And to be honest with you, that's what I'm getting at, right? When I say that, I'll be honest. When you hear somebody say this, this should make you think about, things like quote IQ. It should make you think about it because I'm not even saying what my IQ is or acting like I have, some amazing IQ, y'all, because I've always considered myself of average intelligence. And you know why? Because, well, why would anybody want to sit around like, oh, I'm just so smart and my IQ is so great, so I'm done learning, right? I'm done learning. I never have to learn again, It's just like, I'm so, done with learning through and through and like never going to learn at any point ever. Like, why, I don't know, y'all. It surprises me. It's like it's not even just a college degree thing in my opinion. I think it's more of a mindset and a worldview in general. But yes, at times for a lot of people it is the college degree, right? I'll be honest, y'all. I think a lot of people drink a lot in college and then they get to the end and they're like, yeah, I just did something so great and good, even though I kind of just like half-assed it through a lot of it, and then I got through it, and then literally like now I never have to learn again. Like, I'm not saying everybody, y'all, but there are definitely some people that get them like a business degree and they're like, yep, I fucking learned everything there is to learn, so I'm never gonna learn nothing no more. My brain's all filled up with information now. So voice acting, right? Voice acting and stand-up comedy. I'll interweave them into, this. And I do want to emphasize, y'all, that, one of the concepts that I sort of have to, continue. Well, again, the list of things, y'all, it's going to seem really confusing right now. I don't even care if everybody sees some of my notes. But I'm looking for a specific note that I was typing. First of all, I don't really want a need. Okay. I get it. No, not really. Okay, let's see. So that one, and then what else? I've got a lot here, and it's like, okay, blah, 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 blah. Like, all right, look, really, I'll have to pull it up at a different time. Double-edged sword, right? In fact, I can just type it again. That's the thing. Where should I put it? And it's not really a reference to scripture, y'all. I mean it, but one sec. So that's the point, y'all. Voice acting, stand-up comedy, and this concept, which is not really, like hard to understand in any way, right? It's like I will mock you. I will literally, like, I'll haunt your soul in that way, some of you out there, because you'll hear me standing up on a stage or giving a presentation, in the future, and you're kind of like, I never, well, let me emphasize, y'all, I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but I'll just be honest, y'all, I always knew who I am, and some of you are just like, no, you don't get to know who you are, and in your free time, work on your public speaking or your lectures or your, that's the thing, I didn't really want to go give a bunch of lectures or do a bunch of public speaking. But to be honest, y'all, that's actually what's so ridiculous about it is that it was a humble, honest to God, well, how do you put it best? just that I knew that I had value to provide in that way. That's that simple. I knew that it was one of my skills. You understand? It was one of my greatest strengths, was being able to be on a microphone and provide information just like I'm doing right now. And down in Texas, we did, y'all. We actually prevented me from doing that in a way that was illegal. Right? I couldn't even have provided all this information I've conveyed thus far, and a lot of it is for straight up legal testimony. And I'm not kidding. It's like it's ridiculous. You know, we've had a federal case building. I need to give my legal testimony, and there was active and proactive muzzling. There's torture techniques being implemented by DEA and others, right? And really, it's just like, you know, the amount of hate speech slung at me over and over and over and over and over and over. And don't worry, y'all, I can take it like a good little robot, because I got a thicker skin than any of you people, and I'm not kidding at all. I'm clearly more in control of myself than any of you people, despite the fact that you sit around trying to act like I'm some weird, crazy guy, right? It's all actually literally, just for anybody, you know, I got to put this note back on the page. It's a straight up conscious lie. It's actually a psychopathic lie. That's what's so terrible about it, you know. And so many people just like, oh yeah, no, we didn't, you know, they're not fucking educated. You know, they're sitting around lying in tandem as a group. They're committing felony crime, lying to the authorities, trying to act like I'm a quote criminal, quote thief, quote lazy, quote crazy, quote retarded, quote schizo, quote liar, over and over and over and over again. So when I say using their tongue against them, that's what I'm saying, yo. The number of people that called me a retard straight up, or, you know, very, very passive aggressive, so many passive aggressive, just gut punch type, you know, jabs people are trying to throw out there. And all along the way, y'all, I'm like, I'm not trying to store them and, you know, like keep them, oh yeah, I'm gonna address that later. Like, I don't really care. That's the thing, yo. It's just like, wow, you're okay, that's terrible. I don't even think you're a terrible person. That's what's actually worse, is like, you know, sometimes I will be out very honest and be like, yeah, you're a terrible person if you still think this was okay, which, you know, we're getting more and more. I'm going to say things like that when I'm emphasizing it's like, you've heard me too much now to even defend your perspective about trying to say, you know, that I was anything, right? Whereas before I was giving you, well, the benefit of the doubt, like, maybe you don't know this, maybe you don't know that, maybe you don't know, right? And, you know, now as time goes on, it's like, you know, you got to kind of see the forest for the trees here, you know, and understand like what you did miss. And that includes, y'all, understanding that my family missed something really, really important about me. And what is that? That there is real value in me giving lectures or podcasts, or monologues. And I kind of, you know, that's my style. I've said before that, you know, it's kind of like my personal form of academia, right? The way that I put information together is almost more, I'm not trying to act like it's amazing or perfect, y'all, but what I'm saying is like, it's actually something that a lot of people would find interesting and valuable, if I'm being honest with you, out there in this whole world, right? I'm not saying so many people would love it so much. What I'm saying is that especially in the long run, when people hear me more at length, right, the extended format, right, is sort of the long format for me is where I thrive, y'all. Long format is where I thrive. And so it's kind of really important. When I say Occam's razor to the brain, what does that mean? Well, think about it this way, y'all. This whole situation, there's been so much abuse. Speaking of hate speech, there's been so much, you know, it's literally the equivalent of, you know, going after attacking someone psychologically just over and over and over and over and over again, right? Through my family, through friends at times. Everybody wants to get their comment in. Everybody needs to, you know, make their, and it's not mental illness, to be clear, y'all. That's what's so abusive about it, is that it actually has a term. It's called shared psychotic disorder. That's literally the medical term for what I'm referring to here. And when people are participating in a shared psychotic disorder and subjecting you to such relentlessly abusive and illegal human rights violations systematically, right? To be clear, that's what's so terrible, is that no one can defend this and say that it was ever legal. I'm not kidding, right? They wired this shit up to a Discord server that is abundantly and ridiculously illegal, and they did it after they had already committed felony crimes to frame me in the first place, and they lied about doing that, which is straight up psychopathic, y'all. Of course, it's straight up psychopathic. They allowed perjury, they committed felony crimes to frame me, and to be very abundantly obvious, y'all, that is the reason the DEA tried to murder me in real life, Yeah, we were saying hi to Putin over in his Fortress of Solitude earlier, y'all. Last night. Oh goodness. Yeah, last night I've still got that video up if anybody wants to watch it, right? Is it really I'm not even encouraging people to do so, but I'm gonna leave it up for a bit, yo. And I'll be honest, I don't like to convey information that way. I cried a little bit in the video. It's like, wow, this is painful as heck. It really is, but the honest to God truth is, people can if they want or need to. I do want to remind I've got more to cover with Colorado and my time there, and the fact that I didn't commit a crime in Colorado, y'all. I really mean it. So Colorado authorities, I need you to understand, Luke, who was a DEA agent, he was clearly pulling the same criminal BS, the illegal BS that they were already, doing this whole time. And he was not the only one. And so I'm serious, y'all. If anybody in the state of Colorado is looking at me like, oh, this criminal, something like something that they're trying to say or point at, I'm not even just saying those people, y'all. That's the problem, is that there's too many people that have implemented the same group abuse, the same group fucking behavior, pardon my language, or don't, I'm not sure, well, pardon my language if you're, a stand-up person for the state of Colorado or Texas even, or anywhere. Really, y'all, that's kind of how I mean it. When I say don't pardon my language, I'm more just like, if you're somebody that is not a stand-up person and you just hate me, it's some culture war to you, which it is, to the DEA, to be clear, y'all, that's the problem. These people don't just not have respect. And that's the thing, y'all, they're going to learn some respect. They're actually going to learn some respect for the oath that they took. They're going to learn some respect for our law, because many of them now that have been involved in this are actually going to go to federal prison. Some members of the Air Force are probably also looking at federal prison sentences now, especially if they're continuing with the behavior. And I'm not kidding at all about that. Local law enforcement, I'll be honest, y'all, I have the most heart for you in this situation, because you're looking at people in the Air Force intelligence and DEA, and you're kind of like, now they're really serious. And I'll be honest, y'all, it's just kind of a what you don't know type thing, right? I'm not trying to be mean to you. It's kind of like I understand that you kind of just don't, why would you want to believe that these people that are really powerful would hate me so much and be willing to commit crime and be so corrupt? But that's the issue, y'all, is like they actually do hate me that much. So I really mean it. Local law enforcement and social services and, anybody like that, I've been trying to be the most patient and empathetic with you of anyone, because, y'all, I understand, looking at these layers of basically our, law enforcement structure in the United States, Air Force obviously is kind of complicated in that phrasing, right? But, when it comes down to it, that's the issue, y'all, for me, is that I'm like the technologist in the whole equation. Like, anybody that has the keys can abuse technology, right? And so whether they're DEA hackers or Air Force hackers, right, or even Marine hackers, right, like technically, and that's the thing, y'all. What have I said repeatedly is that, to be honest with you, y'all, there's some good hackers too, and there's some white hats, right? And that's what's so complicated, you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, I'm a white hat, and other people would realize, other people do know that I'm the actual professionals, y'all, to be very, abundantly obvious, who I'm not naming and I'm not even going to talk about right now. They do know that I'm a white hat and I'm a good person and I'm someone of integrity that can be trusted, y'all. And so that's what, for me, it's like, man, they're seeing, local law enforcement kind of repeatedly just like, this guy, like, I'm not trying to be mean to you, y'all, but that's the thing. What I'm saying is I'm trying to be the most empathetic, because really, y'all, there's too much on your plates right now. And when these people, that's the thing, right? They're presenting you a lie. Let me put it that way. They want you to just be duped into behaving like you have no discernment, or you couldn't listen to me yourselves, when you can listen to me yourselves, yo. That's the beautiful part about the 21st century. You can go listen to my YouTube content. You can go listen to my my Twitch content. You can go listen to, eventually I'll be on Spotify, yo. Eventually I'll probably have my podcast going up on iTunes if you prefer your podcast that way. And you can listen to all of that. And really, you can actually just go there. Some of these video presentations I'll put in audio format as well, and I'll just have a bunch of notes repeatedly. At times I'll be saying, if you're listening only, then remember on the screen here I'm saying this or whatever. And right now I'm not going to be doing that, because I gotta apply Occam's razor a little bit, right, I gotta apply Occam's razor so I can even get to the actual lecture. And at this point we're already almost an hour in, and what did I say? I can easily lecture for 3 hours and actually be conveying real valuable information, which all of this has been this whole time, especially given the current context. In fact, that's kind of the whole thing. If anyone thinks that this information has not been relevant, then that means that that all of it has been relevant. like that's how I need to put it most plainly. If anybody thought this information had not been relevant, then that tells me that no, I definitely need to be saying all of this information even more, because that's the problem, y'all. We wanted to truck on forward like, okay, no, we allowed perjury, we allowed lies about you, and now you just have to live with that and be, subjected to literal modern slavery. That's how it works. It's like, no, that's not how it works at all, y'all. Just to let you know, we correct that shit in this society, and that's exactly what I'm doing to some extent. But at the same time, it's just really, y'all, I'm not even asking. I'm never someone that's going to be asking for your permission, because that would be mentally unhealthy. I don't need to ask for your permission to wake up in the morning and give lectures. I don't need to ask for your permission to wake up in the morning and give lectures. Never did I, and never will I. So I'll say it very plainly, as a matter of fact, that it is, right? These people sat around, and that's my problem. Part of why I'm frustrated is being treated like I'm ungrateful. These people committed heinous crimes to frame me in the first place. And then that's how they work, y'all. They are the real chaos agents. To be clear, the family is literally owned by Vladimir Putin himself, right? And so when he's down here lurking, which he was this whole time, unfortunately, he's a lurker, he's like, oh, I'm not here. No, what are you talking about? No, I'm not listening, right? I've got another more fun graphic, more fun in my opinion, y'all. And this is what I'm saying. Some people be like, and try to accuse me of being crazy. But no, that's the thing, y'all. This guy is fucking crazy. That's what I'm saying. He's fucking crazy enough to do exactly what I've been referring to. This guy stays in the wire. He's out there over in Moscow in his fortress of solitude, y'all, all the time. And I use this, I made this beautiful artwork in Microsoft Paint. And really, y'all, what is the hidden meaning here? It is, the power of Christ compel you, you fucking demon, Vladimir Putin, you fucking demon, we're going to compel you out of the planet Earth. And that's the thing, y'all, is like when it comes down to it, these people, they're serving that demon right now. They openly and loyally serve him like slave dogs, and they have no plausible deniability now that they did not know. The family is owned by Vladimir Putin, and in some ways also by CCP, y'all. Really, Xi Jinping, if you want to say it, y'all, it's kind of terrible, right? And, Xi Jinping is a different, obviously their governing structure, y'all, is different than Russia, but let's be honest, are we really going to argue about which communists are worse, y'all? The Chinese or the Russians? Are we really going to argue about that? Which authoritarian communists you have more concern about, the Chinese or the Russians? Well, this organization, they're in bed with both of them. That's what I need everyone on the planet Earth to understand. The family, everyone in the family has sat and tried to remain in bigoted denial of the objective fact that they are 100% in bed with both the violent authoritarian regimes of Chinese, how do I put it, y'all? Best way to phrase it. Russia and China are generally, by most of you that consider yourselves to be patriots that are members of this, quote, the family. Let me emphasize, you can't be a patriot if you're a member of the family. Why is that? Because the family is openly in service. You're slaves to the real communists, y'all. The Chinese regime, the Russian regime, they are violent authoritarian governments, y'all, at the very least, if we need to put it that way. And really, it's not okay in any way, shape, or form. I'm just kind of letting all of you know, y'all. It's, speaking of arranged marriage, y'all, it's like, I wouldn't be ever marrying someone that was communist. I'll be honest. That's kind of a very, fundamental worldview for me. But also, arranged marriage in general is just evil, in my opinion, right? So we shouldn't try to arrange marriage. I believe in free will and personal choice, and so that's the whole thing. It's like, don't allow it. Plain and simple. Full stop. So moving forward, right? Anybody that thought that was ever okay, I'm just letting you know, no, it was not. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. And anybody that actually knows me or knows me well knows that I'm a man who, I stand by my values, y'all. Unlike a lot of you, apparently, I actually stand by my values. And so, no, it's not something that I'm like, oh no, you're gonna regret that. No, I'm fucking not. Trust me. No, I'm fucking not. That's not okay. See, that's why I'm frustrated, is because really somebody already committed violent crime after I turned down the first arranged marriage. Yeah, well, not that's the thing. It's complicated. I don't even want to talk about it, y'all. But it's like these people have now tried twice in total to arrange a fucking marriage, and that's just how they think. For anybody out there that doesn't know, they really actually do think that way. And that's what's kind of fucked up to me, is that like they don't seem to realize, like, they're a cult. Y'all talk about cult. Well, okay, they're literally a cult, yo. And why do you think I'm naming this quick lecture Group Psychology and Collective Consciousness? Group psychology and collective consciousness, right? Because the family is literally a cult. And here's the thing about cults, y'all. Cults are designed to make you believe that it's not a cult from the beginning. And that's what is so frustrating to me. I really mean it, y'all. This whole idea with Voyager, I'm going to go, take the quote I already typed on the page. Really, I mean this, y'all. Part of the whole idea was this very simple root level logic. Don't let people brainwash you. Okay, that's information that I offer to the entire planet Earth. Don't let people brainwash you. Don't let people brainwash you. Don't let people brainwash you. And you're like, wait, are you trying to brainwash people? You're talking like a robot. You're using voice acting again. Are you trying to brainwash people by telling them that don't let people brainwash them? How dare you? And it's like, wow, look at the irony. These people have no humanity remaining because they are so brainwashed themselves. Like, okay, this is what I mean, y'all, right? The members of the family, they're like, no, you can't just talk about it like that. You can't just tell people not to be brainwashed. like look, y'all, what have I done? I flipped their logic upside down. You understand? I flipped their logic. I flipped it. I've reverse engineered it. That was actually, part of the whole thing with Voyager was like, I'm seeing so much polarization and propaganda and misinformation spun out into this world. And yes, a lot of it comes through this organization known as the family, unfortunately, which is Vladimir Putin's secret weapon, y'all. It's his secret weapon in the United States. This is not a U.S. government thing. Let me put it that way, y'all. The family, some people might be mistaken, but that's the problem, y'all, is that's the perception they want to put up. The family is not a U.S. government entity in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not kidding, y'all. God works in mysterious ways for anyone else out there. And again, y'all, I don't have a badge. For anyone else out there that has a badge, I need you to understand that that is actually objectively true, right? The family works very word of mouth. You need to take that to heart. The family is not loyal to the U.S. government in any way, shape, or form. It's not loyal to our country. And so that's part of why it is such a huge and immense national security concern for the United States, but also for every country on the planet Earth to some extent. Because really it is a Russian operation, at the end of the day. And you want to argue about who has more influence, the communist regime of China or the communist regime of Russia? Which one, y'all? Are you more happy that you're serving the communist regime of China, or are you more happy that you're serving the communist regime of Russia? Which one do you prefer, y'all? Because it's one or the other or both, right? It's a little bit of both, just to let you know. The problem is that you people don't seem to realize that cults are designed to make you feel like it's not a cult. And it is literally a cult, yo. Cults are designed to make you feel like it's not a cult. That's why some of you You remain in denial. You're like, no, it can't be a cult because, well, I loved it. It was so good. People are telling me, like, don't talk about the family. Oh, I'm going to fucking talk about the family now, especially when anybody tells me not to talk about something. Oh, God, y'all, that's the thing. I got NDAs, right? I won't talk about that. That's what's so terrible. My coworkers are really, some of them, okay? That's what's complicated. There's some really good people out there, y'all, who did the right thing, and I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart, all right? This is the nuance I have to address every time I say that. And then, especially in Austin, Texas, y'all, and with some of our contractors internationally, in Costa Rica, in Guatemala, in Argentina, in Poland, in Brazil, in South Africa, right? Okay, in Brazil, complicated, right? Because we had some bad hackers and we had some good hackers, y'all. Actually complicated. In South Africa, we got a hacker that won't stop, and I've got to reach out to the South African authorities. I'm not kidding. I'm actually doing that today, right? We had some good people in Australia, and I'm not trying to point anybody out, y'all, or, put them on the anything, right? On the spot. I'm actually just being honest to God, y'all. We had some good people in a lot of ally countries in this world that kind of were like, yeah, this is really terrible. What have they been doing? From Guatemala and Costa Rica and South Africa, they've been hacking me with reckless abandon, y'all, because they're not afraid, right? They think they're not going to be held legally accountable, and so they just keep doing it, and it's psychopathic. It's actually psychopathic. It's real hacking, y'all. That's the problem. Is I'm actually really skilled, like really skilled with technology. Almost like, where the hell did that guy come from? Why didn't he already have a Twitch? And it's like, because, well, I never had the time or the money, yo. I was like, and now I don't have the time or the money at all, and yet I'm doing it because of what the title says, in a way. Also because, well, like, really, I have no choice, yo. They won't even let me work a job. They won't even let me work at the DEA, literally, first and foremost, and the family in the situation, right? That's what sucks. They're actually all basically one, monolithic entity, because they've wired themselves all together. The DEA, is owned by the family, which is a Russian intelligence operation, right? I'm not kidding. The family is literally the secret weapon of Vladimir Putin. It's like his greatest secret weapon on the face of the planet, y'all, because he lies about it, because so many of them have been duped, and they actually are sitting there right now like, wait, are we actually a cult? Just because people tell us who we have to marry, and they make all of the decisions for us in life, and because we, brutalize people into compliance openly, and because we sat around talking about forming a new world order, and because we believe in the quote, Christian offensive, even though we're not Christians at all, and we can't claim that we are, because, well, they're also Islam, they're also Judaism, to be clear, y'all, and that's what's so difficult, right? It's like, how can you even dare sit around complaining about, the Muslims, or, that kind of shit, y'all? That's the thing. How can you even dare sit around complaining about the Muslims when, well, that's the problem, y'all. These people they are terrorists in the Middle East as well. You understand? I'm actually not kidding. Okay. Talk about ISIS, y'all. Oh, fuck. You have no idea. That's the problem, y'all. These people, they're not just willing to work with anybody. They actually want to. I really mean it, y'all. And I'll have to give more information about that, later, and as I understand it and what I've found so far. But, like, straight up, y'all, like ISIS themselves, the family, yes. They're like, remember, their whole mentality is like, Jesus plus nothing. And I'll be honest, y'all, this family is more, I'm going to put the accurate quote, they're more Jesus minus everything. Look at that. It's the total opposite, yo. They're literally Jesus minus everything that was actually Jesus. And they're driven by their greed alone. They have no heart or humanity remaining. They have just shed any, remaining soul, many of them. And I'm here still preaching to them in some ways, saying, you can always turn around. It's never too late. You can always turn around. It's never too late. You can always turn around. It's never too late. You can always turn around. It's never too late. You can always turn around. It's never too late. But again, I can say it as many times as, I can say it, and it doesn't matter to a lot of them, right? Because they're just driven, They're driven by idolatry. I've referenced them as what they are. They're like the modern day Pharisees. Really, that's the thing for any of them that are familiar with scripture, if they even actually care at all, which they seem to not, they really are. They're a sacrilegious organization, and that's the thing. They're openly sacrilegious. They just cut pieces out of the Bible that they fit, that they think fits their political narrative, and that's one of the things to emphasize, right? There's a quote out there about them. It's like, it's not about, money, or it's not about God. It's about power, right? And really, it is about money, and that's the thing, right? Power for them is about money. And that's all they care about in some ways, right? And some other, other things as well, but it's like it's more complicated, y'all. The whole concept of the New World Order, that's what's, shitty, is that comes straight out of the mind of this fucking propagandist right here. Straight out of the mind of this fucking propagandist, Vladimir Putin. And I'm not kidding. He's like, yeah, New World Order, we're going to be a govy government. How many of you are just like, you're already like, nah, the government's too big and powerful, we don't need more government, don't have clean water in Texas, no clean water, no basic needs met in any way, shape, or form. Somebody wanted to create legislation so that we don't have, like Flint, Michigan type situations, or people being, poisoned, and, massive human tort cases by their water. Yeah, no, we definitely, we don't want that. Like, it's like, wait a second, that's kind of like, speaking of, capitalism or regulation, y'all, it's like that's one of the ones where it's like everyone should be in agreement. There's no partisan, slant on that. There's no partisan, perspective. Like clean drinking water, y'all. That's what I'm saying. Is some of these people in this organization, they're not just cold. They'll turn around and they'll be like, yeah, I'm never gonna have to worry about it myself because I'm rich. And so you dirty fucking poor people, you go fucking deal with that shit. You want to drink some goddamn poison water? Then you fucking drink that poison water, you little trashy. Oh yeah, why don't you go pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and just actually, suddenly magically have as much money as I have because I'm full of privilege in my life and I've been sitting around eating the fanciest meals and, well, using public corruption to line my pockets and with literally state taxpayer dollars, It's like it's actually fucking despicable, It's actually despicable. So voice acting, right? It's a double-edged sword. I'm using their hate speech. It's not, in my opinion, what I said just now is not actually technically hate speech, y'all. It's more stand-up comedy. Haha, that's the thing. That's more stand-up comedy, but, we can argue about what hate speech is, and that's something that I'll lecture on more later because I do really care about it, y'all. It's like, what's the difference? I mean, if I was sitting here even saying, like, how do I put it best? I could, try to give examples, but I don't want to because that's hate speech. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what's complicated about it. But we'll talk about it more later. This quick lecture, which I realized, like, wait, you said quick lecture, and now it's that's the point, y'all. A quick lecture, even over an hour, still a quick lecture. That's what you need to understand. Because I'm not kidding, right? I didn't even have a cup of coffee this morning. I woke up and I did. I will let everybody know what I did do, right? Because for example, this narrative has been fucking ridiculous, right? There's a lot of people that buy, caffeine pills on Amazon, for example, and I buy 100 milligram ones many times because I like to be able to be very accurate in how much I consume, right? And not just accurate, but precise is really the word that I mean to say, right? That's a better word, precise. And so I took 2 this morning. Yes, that's 200 milligrams, y'all. But let me emphasize, a cup of coffee these days, especially if you go to Starbucks, y'all, you can, and I'm not downing on Starbucks when I say this, but you can easily get a cup of coffee that is 250 to 300 milligrams of caffeine or more, especially if you get, a double shot espresso or those kind of things. Right now, in general, y'all, normal just cup of coffee brewed, you're talking about 80 milligrams, anywhere from 65 to 100 milligrams of caffeine in a standard 1 cup of brewed coffee, right? But the honest to God truth is that, for me, I am very mindful of every single thing that goes into my body. And so, I take biotin for a neurological disability that I have, right? I take fish oil because I've read so many studies about how good it is for us and our brains and our joints, right? And there's rheumatoid arthritis in my family, unfortunately. So autoimmune disease. I have psoriasis also. That's the neurological disability. Autism also, to be honest with you, y'all, there's an enormous amount of science that shows that if you have autism and you have another neurological disability especially, then you certainly basically are, not neurological disability. Autoimmune disease is what I meant to say, right? If you have one autoimmune disease in any form, your likelihood of having another one is over 50%. So it's actually, it's one of those things where it's unfortunate. It sucks for, people, those of us that do suffer from autoimmune disease, but it is what it is at the end of the day. It's like you got to deal with it the best you can. I took a half of the standard recommended dose of Tylenol, right? So instead of 2, as the bottle says, I took 1. And I did also take one aspirin, y'all. It's like, look at that. Instead of, you're like, no, you can't mix them. They're like, no, you people aren't educated, right? Ibuprofen is not an NSAID. Aspirin is. And the honest to God truth is that, really, you need to be more educated, some of you, because there's nothing wrong. There's plenty of medications you can buy that actually combine acetaminophen, which is what Tylenol is, with aspirin, right? Really, y'all. And so that's where it's kind of like, for example, Excedrin. I'm not downing on Excedrin, y'all, but it's got caffeine in it, and it's got, really, in some cases, I'll have to pull it up, but you're talking exactly what I'm referring to, a mixture of multiple active ingredients, y'all. That's all that it is. And so I basically just do it myself, if you want to put it that way, y'all. When I've lacked for money my whole life, I've lacked for health care, really, like, I'll be honest with you, that's kind of what's so terrible about this narrative, is that, how do I put it best? Like, all of you should have just had, like, okay, you're seeing things you don't understand. You should have had empathy. But instead, you're kind of like, no, Jesus minus everything, minus logic, minus brains, minus, empathy, minus decency, minus respect. Is Jesus minus everything. And what do they actually say, y'all, is they say Jesus plus nothing. But I'm not even going to type that on the page because that's sacrilegious and it's fucking bullshit. And they don't even, really, they're not like, oh, yeah, Jesus. No, it's really more Jesus minus everything that was Jesus, y'all. That's how these people, really actually are. And that's why it's so terrible in a way. But see, I've been sitting here explaining to them, I don't want to go into all the context in this quick lecture, right? But these people refuse to accept no for an answer. And that's kind of what this meme is about, y'all. Is like, when you say no to them, then they're like, no, we're going to victimize innocent people now because you said no to us. And I'm like, fuck you people. That is not okay in any way, shape, or form. For real. They're like, yeah, oh no, how dare you say no to the family? You don't talk about the family. I was never a member of the family, y'all. I never joined the family, y'all. That's what's so complicated for me, is like, there are not all of my family, but there are members of my family that are members of, quote, the family. And I hate the name because of that, y'all. But I didn't ever really even want to talk about it. What I'm saying is that the honest to God truth is that not every member of my family in any way, shape, or form is a member of the family. And so that's where it's kind of complicated for me. There are obviously, how do I put it best? Obviously a lot of people that, never were at all. And so for me to have to explain and convey information in this way, that's just what makes it really, 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 really fucking annoying and difficult. Because you can go watch my, my video of last night, y'all, and I'll let you know. My VODs, I'll probably have to go watch them back. The way that DEA has worked thus far, y'all, they've edited cloud recordings in a lot of cases. I'm not kidding. They will actually go edit a video and re-upload it. And, they're trying to be sneaky about it, but they have the federal keys to do that, right? And so it's like, it's so deceptive. This is the kind of thing, like, I'm reaching out to Homeland Security because I'm not mad at Homeland Security. I'm reaching out to Homeland Security about it. Like, to be honest, they have too much access and they abuse it. They really do. They abuse it with reckless abandon, especially in a case like this. They already tried to murder me in cold blood. Again, that's an assertion, y'all. That's an assertion that they 100% needed me dead based upon how they had already behaved and what they did. And again, I emphasize, I'm not claiming for a moment a federal agent witnessed that and saved my life. And y'all, I have been, it's hard to, I don't want to keep having to say it, but I've been thanking that agent, whoever they were, and God every single day. Twice a day, because I'd be dead, and that's the worst part, is I love life, and yes, I'd be upset to be dead, y'all, but well, I guess I couldn't be once I was dead, right? But no, what I really mean it is that, like, I've been thanking God every day, first and foremost, because my family would never have even known why I died. And they were kind of okay with me being illegally muzzled and subjected to modern slavery. A lot of them, it seemed, and that's where it's just like, I don't know how. Not all of them, to be clear, y'all, but that's what's so difficult, is like, if you make me have to figure out who, is really a part of this, right? And I will investigate legally, of course, but like, I will investigate. And that's the position, really, that you're putting me in when you're being so abusive and criminal, quite frankly. They're being criminal as a group. Some of them probably have not realized for a while that, I kind of have been a lawyer in the making. I always was, interested in law, to an extent, for sure. And really it was something I researched a lot. But the honest to God truth is, all of these interests, it's like obviously time and money, right? Going back to that chart, always time and money that's a complex part of the equation for me. It's never a matter of do I want to learn more. I would learn about everything in the world in some ways. Not everything, okay, but really I would learn about a lot, if I had the time and the money for it. And really, it's like, I know we all have limitations in that way, right? But the irony right now is that these people are trying to sit around saying I'm wasting time. They're the ones tangibly preventing me from doing my job, and they know it, and they have no plausible deniability that is not the case. They're breaking the law with reckless abandon yet again in order to try to set up the exact same tangible situation, which was preventing me from doing my job in the first place. And so part of the reason I'm talking about group psychology and collective consciousness is that that's how this cult works. They kind of sit around Dunning-Krugering one another. They really do. They give a false sense of reassurance because of how many of them there are. And so it's, local members of my family, for example, they are very vulnerable, and I'm not trying to be mean, but they're very vulnerable to that cult, psychology in a lot of ways. That someone's kind of saying to them, no, you gotta, we gotta fix him. That's one of the things that's been said a lot. Y'all gotta fix me. It's like, now I gotta fix all of you, because like you need to understand that this is not okay. Now that's what this is about, y'all. Trust me, this is not gonna be the first lecture on group psychology and collective consciousness. That's the point. Now I have to fix all of you, literally all of you. And no, in the long run, y'all, I'm certainly not alone. But that's kind of the thing. That's just like, oh my goodness, y'all. Like, how do we let this happen? How do we let this happen? So why do I bring up names like Temple Grandin? Well, to be honest, y'all, speaking of being educated about psychology, I'm not going to talk about family, but I sat and watched this movie about Temple Grandin with, people I loved very much, and I still do love very much. I really do. But see, when I watched that movie, I don't think they realized how much I knew. Even back then, I was kind of like, wait a second, I'm probably autistic at that moment. Really, when we watched that movie together, and you're like, oh no, your poor little brain just thought, no, that's the problem, y'all. You don't seem to realize, like, you think about it this way. I don't want to talk about my family, never wanted to, but I basically was surrounded by really educated people from a really young age, and to be honest with you, y'all, that's where it's like it's kind of painful. Some of those people have sat around like not regarding the fact that they helped educate me so much in a way that I then went out and I self-educated, really, y'all. And I'm just gonna put it on the page here, like, one sec. And I really do mean that. The reason that I put the nuance in there is that, yes, I love learning. And so I love, quite frankly, listening to people lecture. It's like, you go at it. I'm actually a fan no matter who you are. Like, you're lecturing, right? It's like, you're conveying information, and it takes effort, and it takes heart. And you have to actually care to make it, good and interesting, if you want to put it that way, y'all. And so that's where it's like, especially when I see that people are doing that, I'm like, hell yeah, rock star. Like, I don't know how to say it, y'all. It's like, rock on. Like, even though I'm sitting there quietly, just like, okay, was that important enough to write down? I'm not, like, really, I'm not like, oh, now I don't want to write stuff down. I'm just like, I'm trying to make sure I'm like taking notes that are relevant, right? It's like, and not that I can't do that in a good, way, y'all. That's what's so kind of like ridiculous in some ways. People act like, I love going to lectures, y'all. I've said it before, like, I would audit a lot of courses and probably will in the future, because I'll be honest, I think sometimes that we just get too obsessed with, the, how do you put it? Obsessed with the concept of like it's all about getting a grade, it's all about getting a degree instead of actually the education. You know what I mean? Like that's always what I was always a little bit, in college. A lot of people. I'm not. It wasn't trying to be judgmental, and a lot of people weren't that way. But then some people are just kind of like, yeah, I'm here for the grain, and then I'm out. Like it's like are you gonna learn anything? Like that's why we're really here. I think part of what's difficult for me, right? I think that we talk about things like blame in our society, and we can't make blame a simple thing in any way. And so blaming anybody, see, I'm talking, actual professionals here versus some other people, right? And it's like some people really try to help and do something positive, and I was trying to always understand who was, doing what in this, y'all. But see, I was kind of put in a position where, it's a little bit more than, untenable for one human being for a really extended period of time. That's part of what I have to convey, is that the amount of conscious effort it takes for me to even stand here and lecture this way right now is, well, like, ridiculous, y'all. There's basically no one else on this planet that, could. I'm not trying to sound arrogant. This is what I mean, though, y'all, is like this has been some real psychological torture that's happened this last 3 years of my life. And that is part of what I now have the task to communicate to the world about, because I mean it is like the real professionals recognize that. And are the real professionals NASA sending out Voyager? No, they're not, y'all. But what are the real professionals? Well, I mean, in a way, they know about this kind of stuff, right? They know about. Well, okay. I'm not trying to say, y'all. Also, the NASA are real professionals. Don't get me wrong, y'all. But that's kind of my point. Is like. I'm not pointing at NASA, like NASA are the ones sitting here, like, on the Voyager, and we're streaming him, like they got they sent the Voyager probes back, and they're now beaming out this live stream on Twitch. um, no, no, really, y'all. The complicated thing for me is blame is something we shouldn't, try to easily and quickly apply in any case. And in this case, we just had a whole lot of people participating in what we call a shared psychotic disorder. And they were like, anything and everything that we can blame him for. Blame, blame, blame. You know that scene in Game of Thrones, y'all? I'm not going to pull up a GIF because of the content. But I mean it, y'all. They're like, blame, 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 shame, 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 shame. Like, and for the most basic things, like 2 cheeseburgers for $1 than the McDonald's app. These people are subjecting me to modern slavery. I do not have a lot of money in any way, shape, or form. They won't even let me work Lyft or DoorDash or hacking my phone. They're literally trying to, break the service in some cases. They're trying to prevent me from making a single dollar because they've already committed reckless crimes trying to frame me repeatedly, and they don't want people to know that I can make plenty of money. Yeah, and they're 2 cheeseburgers, $1, and then people are like, oh my God, he got cheeseburgers, he got 2. Oh my God, it's just like, oh, what a lavish meal, like, right, really, everybody's like, no, you just need to go to the grocery store when everybody hates you so much, and we're broadcasting your location, and a bunch of nut jobs are running around swerving their trucks at you and just like stalking you. Even in some cases, not mental illness, y'all, that's the problem. They would accuse me of schizophrenia, and look how fucking terrible that is, because they've been broadcasting my actual literal location, not NASA, y'all. But that's what I'm saying, is like, in the big picture, y'all talk about big picture perspective. That's the kind of thing that like our country takes so fucking seriously, because they're putting somebody's actual safety in continued risk. And well, you're abusing federal keys in some cases, keys in general, y'all. Any keys being abused in that way. If you want to claim that it's reasonable, then you got to be reasonable with it. That's the point, y'all. If you want to claim that it's reasonable, you won't be blasting that shit. You won't be broadcasting that shit to the whole world. You're just actually like creating a walking, target of culture wars. It's like now anywhere I walk now, I'm fucking Charleston, and the Tiki Torch people are just like, no, I want to get him because I heard him talking about Charleston and that it was a Russian operation that really got us going there in the first place. And it was. That's my point, y'all. It's like, you'll hear me speak very plainly about that kind of stuff because, well, I am very educated about that kind of stuff. And, it's kind of frustrating that, people have just not regarded or respected my education in any way, shape, or form, thinking that it's even an option to just call someone a term that doesn't apply, like schizo or, dissociative personality disorder, or dissociative identity disorder, or bipolar disorder, or suffering from psychosis, which is, I just need to emphasize, y'all, I don't suffer from psychosis. I've never suffered from psychosis in my life, and to be frank with you, y'all, I likely never will in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not kidding. Like, some of you don't realize the type of fortitude that I actually do have, and which is immensely more than any of you. even when I've gotten upset and I've raised my voice at times. It's kind of the point of some of these lectures and live streams and recordings is, well, they are irrefutable, y'all, to people that are actually educated. I really mean it. And when it comes down to it, like, it's so easy to miss the boat about somebody. Haha, get it, Voyager? It really is. It's easy to miss the boat when you're just staring at one, facade, one dimension that was created. You had perjury committed. You already had relentless lies told about a person in a group, as a group. And so you're like, oh, well, all these people hate him. And is this like the show Survivor, where they just vote him off the island, except we don't obey the law in any way, shape, or form. And then we just treat him like he's a slave dog, except a slave dog, like a techno slave dog. Everywhere he walks, we're tracking him. We're using passive recording on a cell phone and just streaming that audio straight to a Discord server that we're claiming is, quote, private, when it's not private at all in any way, shape, or form, y'all. It's not private. That's the problem. You're claiming it's private. It's not a private Discord server, y'all. It's not fucking private. How do I know about it still going on, y'all? Well, I cannot reveal all of my methods, but I will bring this GIF. I like to say GIF better than GIF personally, y'all. GIF just sounds so weird to me. Even though some people try to say that's the correct one, I don't care, y'all. I'm gonna say GIF. Haha, go fuck yourself if you think I'm wrong. I don't care. Because it's one of those things, y'all. It's like, well, no, you're being mean now. You said no hate speech, and well, no, that I do believe in that, no hate speech, y'all. But I'll be honest with you. Again, it's kind of the double-edged sword type thing. But really, it's also a joke. Stand-up comedy. Go fuck yourself, right? It's like people, it's like you can, argue about that, and that's what we'll lecture about, right? We have real freedom of speech in this country. All of this content is 18 plus only, and I've labeled it that way very overtly, and nobody can say that it's not. And, at the end of the day, that's part of what's so terrible about, like, streaming to an unknown number of people out there in this world, throughout this experience in Austin, for example. You're not even telling me, how many people, that's the problem, you cannot just let somebody like me, especially, you cannot just fucking let, random people sit around and listen to me. Like, you're doing damage to them. It's like, because honestly, y'all, you don't even know who the fuck I am. Like, I am kind of a stand-up comic. I am, more educated than we want to believe, a lot of you. And really, like, that's the problem, y'all. If you think you're more educated because you happen to have a degree, as in a piece of paper, then you clearly didn't actually get educated, because your piece of paper has nothing to do with the actual amount of education that you have. That is just a piece of paper that, well, you took some classes and you went through the process. And I'll be honest, y'all, even in a legal capacity, that's the problem. Part of what I'm proving here is that, well, we live in the 21st century. It's my education like I've received, in a way, that's what's so complicated, y'all. I have so much respect for this woman and what she has presented to the world in her communication. And I'm guessing even at times that's taken a lot of effort for her, right? Being, autistic herself. And that's what's really challenging, for me to convey to other people, right? When I saw that movie about Temple Grandin, I really did realize that, it's not necessarily the moment, but it was just that I knew, I was like, really, I think deep down, I was like, wow, I'm actually autistic. Like, the experience, even some of the things that she went through in that, it's a movie, right? It's a dramatization, but that's the problem, These people are propagandists, and they'll sit around and I pull up shark bait, and they're like, oh, he's obsessed with education. No, okay, like a college, professor is going to say, let me emphasize, I'm using, pop culture references to help convey and communicate information, y'all. So don't let these propagandist pieces of shit, say anything. And I know a college professor would not say that part, y'all. That's what I'm saying when I say my own style of, right, this is on Twitch, it's like I haven't had time, and I've definitely not watched everything on Twitch, right? These people accuse me of being so, they'll try to say I'm not in line with Christ, and not one of them can say they're in line with Christ, y'all. They're communists. They're openly serving, communist regimes right now, Russia and China, and they are sitting there. Everything they say is doublespeak, literally. Everything they say is doublespeak, and they're Jesus minus everything. So what? Look at that. Their main thing is Jesus plus nothing, right? So I was like, okay, flip the doublespeak around. What does it mean? It means Jesus minus everything, and that's actually what their organization is, y'all. They've minused all of the Jesus. They've subtracted Jesus from the equation of, well, Christianity itself, and then they own so many churches, and they're like, no, you just need some Jesus. Jesus plus nothing, and the Jesus is their greed, the Jesus is their mafia, the Jesus is their idolatry, the Jesus is that they're the real Pharisees, and they know it better than anybody, y'all. And that's the problem. They're like, don't talk about the family. And you people are fucked. You have no idea. We live in the 21st century. I'm serious, y'all. That's the point. Like, these people, they want to kill me already. Right now, DEA tried to kill me, partially because they know that I tell the truth about this kind of stuff. And so that's what I'm saying, is that they're going to have to get over their fucking, snowflake little feelings. You fucking snowflakes. If you kill me, even if you try to frame me, which you've done repeatedly, it's only going to reassert to everyone that I'm telling the truth, y'all. It's only going to reassert to everyone that I'm telling the truth. I'm serious. Anybody that tries to frame me, my own family included, which, again, y'all, it's on my radar now, unfortunately, you're actually going straight to federal prison at this point. And local authorities, where I'm at right now, y'all, I'm not even going to say where at this moment, right? I did, but really, y'all, you need to regard this, what I'm saying, because y'all, I'm not kidding. I will not allow it to happen. If you're coming at me like, oh yeah, are you sure? Like, you come with some random shit like, oh yeah, no, that's not yours. You have no idea how much, like a lawyer, I will sit there and be like, look, I have this example, 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 this example of all of these past cases where these people have done the exact same bullshit. We had to put a cloud camera on my car in Austin. We've had to, at times counter surveil me to make sure that these people cannot lie in a group about me, which is fucking ridiculous, y'all. Really, it's not even correct necessarily. Like, more like we're counter surveilling you, quite frankly, y'all. But we've had to surveil me, really, just to make sure that you surveilling me is not abused fraudulently. For anybody that doesn't understand why I'm pulling up that graphic, right? I'm actually completely serious. This is not mental illness. This is actually what's been going on, really. Is like, these people are surveilling me for good, and they know it. They're trying to make sure that these people can't surveil me for bad and lie about it. You understand? Because what they're doing is they're selectively editing, and they're committing crime just in the vicinity of me to try to say that I'm a criminal or I'm a bad person, right? They're trying to use psychological manipulation. They're trying to, use my family members, quite frankly, into participating in their crime. And I've been here saying to my family, please do not choose to, go to prison with some of these people. Please do not implicate yourselves in this, because I will tell the truth straight through all of it, no matter what happens. Please, please, please do not implicate yourself. Please, please, please do not listen to the family. They will lie to you. They will play you like you've never understood, and they will absolutely destroy real families, y'all. So I've got a lot more on this lecture topic, but I said it was going to be a quick lecture, and that was pretty quick, y'all, because I said about 3 hours. That's not even a long lecture, like a real, lecture, right? Anyway, oh wait, but what are we basing off of? It's all relative, right, y'all? It's all relative. It's part of the point. So I'll be back later today, y'all. Thanks for listening if you did.